Help support AMTV by becoming a patron, an AMTV staff member, and following us over on Twitter.
Tonight, 7:15, September 22nd, 1955. We add another sentence to the long history of London. On the 30th of July last year, after much argument, a challenger was admitted to the lists to question this 20-year monopoly. The Independent Television Act was passed by both Houses of Parliament. There shall be an authority, it said, whose function shall be to provide television broadcasting services additional to those of the British Broadcasting Corporation and of high quality, both as to transmission and as to the matter transmitted.
Hi there guys, it's Adam Martyn here, and the day has finally arrived. ITV, independent television, has turned 70. 70 years of ITV, 70 years of commercial television here in the UK as well. And I know what some are going to say, it's not exactly the 70th in all of the different ITV regions. Some of them started well after 1955. But in terms of the brand, the phrase, the knowledge of independent television, that idea is turned 70 years old today. And for most of the year, I think a lot of us have been wondering, myself included, just what are ITV going to do to celebrate this milestone? Because 70 years is a long time for anything, not least in the medium of broadcasting, which has been around now in some shape or form for just over 100 years. So for ITV to be around for nearly 3/4 of that century is pretty damn impressive. So we've seen a few smatterings in the build-up to it, a few discussions, a few bits on the news, but let's take a look at the schedules on ITV and see if they're going to actually commemorate it via a programme. Alright, so here is the schedule for today, the 22nd of September. So this morning it was all the usual, Good Morning Britain, some stuff on the other channels as well, mainly focusing on ITV1, that's where I imagine they'd put something like this. You've got Lorraine that pops up at 9 as per usual, and then this morning at 10 o'clock, nothing either popping up on any of the sub-channels either. Then you get into further this morning as well. Then at 12:30 you've got Loose Women for an hour, and at the time of recording this, as you can see, currently on is the lunchtime news. So far, nothing major, but hey, maybe they'll sneak something in during the evening, during the primetime schedule. You've got Dickinson's Real Deal, then Tenable after that, and then Tipping Point beyond that too. The Chase, as ever, is at its 5 PM time slot. Seems appropriate that they wouldn't move that. That is their flagship quiz, after all, lest we forget. Then at 6 o'clock, you've got the news, which is on for quite a long time, an hour and a half, actually, in some way, shape, or form. 7:30, you've got Emmerdale, followed by Coronation Street at 8, the flagship soaps, again, forming a backbone of that schedule. Corrie is going on for an hour, but I think episodes that long, they're becoming more the norm, aren't they? I think, so I hear. 9 o'clock, we've got Cold Water, which is a drama. And again, looking at the other channels, nothing really indicating any sort of special popping up there. 10 o'clock, you've got the ITV News at 10, where I'm sure it's going to get a very brief mention, as you would expect on the news. At 10:45, you've got Peston. And then going into the early hours, you've got the life and death of Lily Savage, or as many of us knew them as Paul O'Grady. So from that initial schedule, there doesn't seem to be really anything here, quite bluntly. There's not really anything here to celebrate ITV's 70th anniversary, which, I mean, colour me a little bit disappointed. Now, listen, I totally understand producing specific programs for something like an anniversary can be really costly. You've got to divert resources, you've got to divert your staff, directors, producers, editors to create this one-time program that is basically a celebration of yourself. And given that ITV is a commercial broadcaster, are the advertisers really going to want to splash out for that? They might do, with it being a sense of occasion, you know, the anniversary as such, but we don't seem to have had any of that in the planning. And as we saw from all the other channels, ITV2, ITV3, ITV4, there's nothing else really forming anything at all that's celebratory. Now, there may still be stuff coming later in the year. People have alluded to this in various press conferences and stuff, but I think what summarises it quite well is a post I saw on Clean Feed. Now, go and check these guys out. Great website for various things going on in the TV industry, but I think they hit the nail on the head by saying that the ITV 70 coverage is oversimplifying the channel's past, and that's absolutely true. The most I've seen on the TV is these various like news summaries, the different regions saying, oh, here's a very quick history about our particular region. Here's a history of Granada. Here's a history of Yorkshire, ATV, all that sort of stuff, all very condensed, but it doesn't really tell the full picture. In the Clean Feed article, it points out quite correctly that the story of ITV PLC, or of modern ITV1, is not the story of independent television itself. Sadly, this has led to some confusing coverage of the anniversary. ITV PLC can trace its history back to Granada Television, and nobody should ever understate Granada's achievements as a broadcaster. And that's true, Granada was definitely one of the big boys, particularly towards the end, as it got to the, as the regional structure started to fade away throughout the 90s into the early 2000s. But as Clean Feed quite rightly points out, Granada was the fourth ITV company to go on the air, behind Associated Rediffusion, ATV and ABC. And to suggest that the regional companies were mere news hubs is simply disrespectful. Do we really believe that people over the age of 40 do not know what independent television was? I mean, for sure, those who definitely grew up with it, that over 40, that range who'll remember it. Of course, they'll have some familiarity with what independent television, what ITV was back then with that regional structure. For younger audiences who don't necessarily take an interest like I do, I can understand that they think ITV is just one thing. They won't have any concept of the whole regional structure if they didn't grow up with it, and it might be a bit confusing for them to understand at first. So it does seem a bit odd that the news hub thing, that the regional companies are being suggested to be, is being touted, because they were much more than that. A lot of them produced their own original programming for the network. Now, if you want more about the specific history of ITV up to this point, Clean Feed have done a great condensed history of it that you can go and check out on their page there for sure.
Back with a brand new episode. The Taggart team are on the case when a restaurant critic is found murdered.
So what can you actually do to enjoy the 70th? Well, when you go on ITVX, which of course is their main streaming site that they're banking a lot on these days. So we can see here, they have got a page celebrating 70 years of ITV. Look at that banner at the top featuring all kinds of different TVs with all different kinds of programs. It says, happy 70th birthday ITV. You've got a 24/7 channel there, which is live. It won't let me show a picture as I'm recording, and the parental controls are off, heaven forbid. But you can see at the moment they've got George and Mildred airing, which is a classic show. More George and Mildred to follow. I wonder if I could actually get a schedule for that somewhere, but we'll have a look in just a moment. Back to that main page then, you're offering different shows. Sunday night at the London Palladium, Stars in Their Eyes, 321 with Dusty Bin there, The Best of Tommy Cooper. They've got special compilations like this one, ITV News at 70, The Stories That Shaped Our Nation. This is available on YouTube as well, and is basically a cracking hour-long compilation about different news stories over the last 70 years and how they were handled by ITV. So what else is it touting here? You've got Through the Keyhole, General Hospital, You Bet, Around the Regions. We're going to talk more about that in just a second. Agony, The Golden Shot. A lot of classic programming on there. Plenty for you to sink your teeth into. They've also divided it up by decades. The first tab there is for the 50s and 60s, the first 15 years. So it's offering programs like The Army Game, like The Prisoner, the very first episode of Corrie. That's mad. That was broadcast on the 9th of December, 1960. You've got the Up series, which is a fantastic series. I highly recommend you watch that. Thunderbirds, of course. All of Jerry Anderson's stuff was a bit of a backbone for ITV. Lots of classic programming on there for sure. And that's only the 50s and 60s, would you believe? There is much more. You've got the 70s, throwing up loads of these archive treats here. The Naked Civil Servant, that's a great one-off program with John Hurt. You've got The Muppet Show, Minder, This Is Your Life, Eric Sykes there specifically. Lots of news coverage as well, lots of individual programs, I'm sure you can see there. Even more good stuff. Let's have a look at the 80s for ITV. Auf Wiedersehen Pet, Sammy and Bruce, The Krypton Factor, Inspector Morse. As you can see, just classics after classics coming through here, all placed onto ITVX for you to enjoy at your leisure, with adverts, of course. Then you've got the 90s. You've got things like Cracker, The Price is Right with Bruce Forsyth, Mr. Bean, A Touch of Frost. Again, lots of programs I'm sure many of you may remember watching or have even heard about, word of mouth. Then we get into my era, the 2000s. We've got things like, like Fat Friends, where James Corden got his start, Benidorm, which I think still goes on to some extent, Law and Order UK, Foyle's War, Secret Diary of a Call Girl with Billy Piper. Lots of amazing programs there as well. And then we get more modern into the 2010s and 2020s. I won't dive into them as much. They're a bit more recent, but you get the gist of what they're going for. Nice to have that. Then we have Around the Regions. Now, let's have a look at this specifically. Around the Regions is what we've been seeing on the TV. As it says, it's a journey back through some of the most memorable moments in modern history with these incredible news clips from across the regions. And you know we love archive content here. So you've got things cementing a lot of the different regions. There's stuff from Border, Granada, West Country, Anglia, Central as it is, like the Midlands. You've got Yorkshire, Tyne Tees, London, UTV over in Northern Ireland, Meridian, like a lot of stuff is covered here. And as it says, a lot of it features these archive news clips. And there's so much here. There's so much here. And for a TV nerd like myself, someone who likes to, delve back into this sort of stuff, this is just great. It's great that this content is here and it's readily accessible for you all to enjoy. There's 50 different clips here. They all run to about a few minutes long. But as I say, 50 different clips, lots for you to enjoy here if you're into that archive sort of stuff. Great little segment, this Around the Regions. Back on the main page, they've segmented it into like drama as well, 70s classics, entertainment. So you can really see, like any good streaming site, they've tried to compartmentalize the different content. Look at this. You've got 70 Years of Brilliant Kids TV, the story of SMTV Live, remember that? Or Press Gang from the late 80s, early 90s, written by future Doctor Who showrunner Stephen Moffat. Wurzel Gummidge with John Pertwee, of course. And then even more, the Mr. Bean animated series, Catweasel, a lot of people still talk about that. The Moomin Show, which was recently added. Thunderbirds, we've already talked about. Lots of great stuff there. So there's plenty to sink your teeth into from the archive, which I think a lot of people will be happy with. They've even got shows from the regions, like all the classics, Granada, Yorkshire, Thames, ATV, LWT, Anglia / Meridian. Now, they've grouped these together for some reason, TSW, Southern, and CTV, and then HTV's on its own, but then they've grouped Ulster, Tyne Tees, and Border. Not quite sure why they've done that, but hey, that's what we're going with, it seems. So like any good streaming site, they've really gone to town in providing lots of archive content to be available for you to watch. This is great in one aspect. I'm all for stuff that rarely gets seen being made readily available. I'm sure a lot of the entertainment shows wouldn't have got that airing not too recently, but I think, again, the great shame seems to be that there isn't, at the moment, this new individual standout program celebrating at least part of the history of ITV. And I think with this anniversary coming up, there's been plenty of time during this year to prepare. And here we are at the anniversary date, and there just doesn't seem to be anything. Now, there is also talk of there being special idents to mark the 70th anniversary that are going to run for about a week's time. But keep your eyes open if you are watching ITV, particularly starting from tonight going forward, because there's going to be some very special idents. And if there's quite a few of them, maybe we'll take a look at them on the ident review, because it has been quite a long time since the last episode, hasn't it? In terms of what ITV themselves, this is from their press centre, which titles 70 Years of Making What Matters. And it's just a little blurb again about how they've made high quality, unashamedly entertaining, popular television, etc., etc. A bit about the celebrations, but nothing really leaning towards what might come in the near future. What it does provide, though, is this media pack, which I find especially interesting. So this is the media pack they provide, 70 Years of Making What Matters. And you've got some pictures from some of their most popular shows. I believe that's Love Island top left. You've got Ant and Dec there, Cilla Black, something from way back in the 60s by the looks of it. The Spice Girls are here, Trevor McDonald. And this booklet, actually, I was reading it before recording, and it's actually really informative and really cool. It's a nice little history lesson as to ITV and the different kinds of stuff it makes. You've got stuff like drama that it focuses on there, legendary soaps, of course. I mean, Coronation Street is still going, and as is Emmerdale. That's over 50 years now. You've also got things about exciting entertainment, a lot of the different entertainment shows that they did. This Is Your Life, the various stuff with Cilla Black, even things like I'm a Celebrity Now, or The X Factor, all that sort of stuff. It's all covered. You've also got reality. I know some of us aren't the biggest fans of it, but it is important. It only gets one page, though, important to note. You've got groundbreaking factual stuff as well. Glad that's covered. Daytime. ITV, of course, has been big in daytime over the decades. You've got informative news and current affairs. There's Trevor McDonald himself. We all love Trevor and all of the stuff they've done over the years. Landmark Sport as well. And then it says it gives you highlights, I suppose, documentaries. So look here. So it covers the news, the stories that shape the nation around the regions as well. There's a documentary about Thunderbirds and Space 1999 as well. The London studios that have been demolished now, I think. The story of SMTV as well. But nothing documentary-wise about the full legacy of ITV itself. Some would say it's too big, it's too massive to cover. That's why they have around the regions. It's a better supplement, if you like. But I don't know, I sort of discontinue that. I think the effort could have been made to at least make an hour-long documentary, condensed as that would have been. It focuses on rarely seen archive entertainment like the Sunday Night at the Palladium, the Sammy and Bruce, amongst other things. So literally giving you highlights, including full ITV coverage and highlights of historic news events. So you've got things like Churchill's death announcement and funeral, the Silver Jubilee for the Queen, lots of big moments in history and how ITV covered. That is particularly interesting. It says the Fast Channel, the ITV 70 Fast Channel, that's going to be running from mid-September right to the end of 2025. I'm glad that's the case, but why was this not running throughout the whole year? Why is this only happening now? You've got so much archive content to rattle through there that it seems baffling to only have it operate for, what would it be, like 3.5 months of the year, if that, maybe just 3 months. It seems like a bit of a wasted opportunity not to have it on from the beginning of the year. And then to round off, it gives you a little timeline. Obviously, not everything is covered here, but the big points, I'd say the big points of ITV history is marked down in here. And it's got everything by decade, taking you right up until the very present day, with the most recent factoid on there being Queen Camilla visits the set of Trigger Point and attends a reception with ITV stars and staff, the first major event to celebrate the 70th anniversary. And that only happened recently. Why is this the first major event? We've only got 3.5 months left of the year. And the very last thing is a little quiz, which is a bit fun. It gives a little focus to ITV Quiz here, which of course launched earlier this year. We talked all about that. And it's basically just various different quotes from ITV shows. And I would say, can you guess them? But the answers to them are provided immediately under them. So maybe have a go with a friend. And that is the little media pack. So to summarize, are ITV doing absolutely nothing to celebrate their 70th anniversary? No, they are going some way to celebrate it. The little around the regions segments they've been putting on the news and the vast amount of archive that they've uploaded to ITVX. They've given the 70th anniversary its own specific page. They've given it its own specific fast channel as well, which again, I really think should have come a lot earlier than it actually has. But lots of programs out there and supposedly more events potentially coming. No signs of there being specific programs just yet. And some might say, look, with the amount of stuff they've uploaded to ITVX, with the amount of coverage it's got there, all of their history, all of this, haven't they done enough? And I know times are really difficult, obviously, for any broadcaster, particularly the commercial ones. Advertising revenue is not what it once was. They're turning to streamers, other alternatives, and the future of ITV, as well as the other commercial broadcasters, is often called into question. A lot of them are moving to the streaming model, hence ITVX, which has done okay, it seems, but it hasn't yet reached the same heights as the big boys of streaming, your Netflixes, your Disney Plus, Amazon Primes, etc. It's not quite there yet, despite the vast offering of content that it does have. I think as well there's the potential of downsizing operations on traditional TV. I wouldn't be surprised if things like ITV4, ITV3 eventually disappear from the traditional schedules and maybe move to an online-only format. We've seen that happen with other channels. Can't see it being impossible that it's going to happen here. But I do think with this being such a monumental anniversary, 70 years of ITV and of commercial television, at least one little program, I think an original new program could have been made to supplement that. And again, it's mid-September. There may well be something before the end of the year. But given that we've obviously known this was coming up, why something couldn't have been prepared to air tonight, on the Monday night, 22nd of September, 2025, why something couldn't have been sorted is beyond me. Not in the boardrooms, not in the meetings, haven't got a clue. But I think in that sense alone, that is a major missed opportunity. But what do you think about ITV's 70th anniversary? Do you think they've done enough by uploading all of this archive content onto ITVX? Are you a bit gutted like I am that there's not an original program airing like tonight or this week celebrating that history as well? Basically, let me know all of your thoughts about ITV's 70th and the potential future of the broadcaster in the comments down below. If you have enjoyed this video, leave a like on it. It really does help us out. And subscribe to the channel as well, because we'd love to have you aboard here with us. In the meantime, I've been Adam Martyn from AMTV. Thank you for joining me, and I'll see you next time.
Head to ITVX to check out our nostalgia-filled 70th birthday collection as we celebrate 70 years of iconic shows and unforgettable drama. Now on ITV1, it's Dickinson's Real Deal.
Thank you to our patrons for helping to support the show, and a special thank you to Macra, Sean Knock, Dord Khan, Ethan Carberry-Holt, Liam Domain, AJ Mac 200017, Jen, Traffy, Mr. Eurovision 1986, Evan Hart 42 Radio, Tim Ripley, 40-something Manchild, Mr. J McLeod, James Wallace, Ben, Stephen Oliver, Shadow Fiend 180X, Swan Ronson, Adam Gamer, Sir Fonzie Daz, Tegan, Matthew Elliff, Pigeon's House, Seraphic Euphoria, Dave Batten, Leonard Starbuck, Kevin Mallon, Seed Diffusion, and Liam Turner, our AMTV staff members.